Progress occurs when courageous, skillful leaders seize the opportunity to change lives for the better. No corporation or leader exhibits this like Spirit Airlines and its CEO, Ben Baldanza. Today, Spirit Airlines is America's fastest growing airlines and the second most profitable airlines in the world. But just a few years ago, Spirit was considered by many to be an afterthought in an industry dominated by global network carriers and one well-entrenched discount carrier. Ben took a desperately struggling business and created opportunity by inventing an entirely new category in the industry. Spirit is America's first ULCC, ultra-low-cost carrier. We are fortunate to have Ben here with us today to discuss how he emphasized what makes Spirit stand apart and used it to help the business grow. Ben, a native of Central New York who grew up in Rome, is a graduate of Syracuse University. His message of creating opportunity is important for this region as we create our opportunities for the future and chart our own path for success. I invite you to join me in welcoming Ben Baldanza.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. What a very inspiring speech that was from Governor Cuomo as well. And it's great to know that New York State has a governor that understands what businesses have to do every day. Being from upstate New York, having a degree from Syracuse University makes me very proud to be able to speak with all of you. And I'm going to enjoy the next couple of minutes telling you a little bit about Spirit Airlines, our story, and hopefully be able to draw some parallels to what that might mean for Central New York. You know, Sir Richard Branson used to say, if you want to be a millionaire, start with $1 billion and launch a new airline. This is the guy who actually started a couple airlines. And unfortunately, that's been the history of the airline industry. It's been an airline, the industry's been one that has lost money in bad years, made a little money in good years, but net hasn't done much. At Spirit, we said we didn't want to be that way. So we built a transformation strategy that really started back in 2005, 2006. And what we did was we said, let's look at airlines all around the world, and let's look at ones that make money all the time, if there are any. And let's look at ones that make money in good times but give it up in bad times. And we said, you know, we can create this really simple grid. Whether airlines compete on product, you know, more legroom, free bags, worldwide network, whatever you want to call it, or compete on price, just low fare, and are they consistently profitable, or do they only cyclically profitable? Do they make money in good times but give it up in bad times? And what we noticed is that there are some premium product carriers that fit in that upper left quadrant. They're called Singapore Airlines, they're called Emirates Airlines. There's a couple airlines in the world who have very expensive products that they deliver, very expensive airfares, and customers like them, and customers travel those airlines and they make money all the time. At the other end, you have what I would call new breed low-cost carriers who understand this as well. They have lower prices, and they've structured their businesses to have lower prices. But then you have most of the industry is in this big yellow box that we call the tweeners, and that's most legacy airlines like your Americans, Uniteds, Deltas, or original LCCs like Southwest or JetBlue. And the problem with carriers like that as an economic entity, all of these can be good airlines to fly, but as an economic entity, the problem with that is that their costs aren't low enough to be able to sell really low fares, but their product isn't really that great to be able to generate the kind of revenue premium they need to cover their costs. So what happens with those airlines is they lose money in bad years and they make some of it back in good years, but net they don't provide necessarily the most stable employment, the best return to investors, or even necessarily the best long-term service. So the problem with that is they try to be all things to all people. And think about that. I mean, the airline industry is no different than any other business. In the restaurant business, both McDonald's and Morton's are successful, but do you think McDonald's would be successful if they sold a $35 steak? Or that Morton's would be successful if they sold $4 combo meals? They think of their businesses differently. Think about the retail space. Nordstrom and Walmart are both successful business. But would Nordstrom be able to sell jeans for $9? How many $1,800 suits would Walmart sell? They understand that they're serving a different marketplace and that there are different kinds of customers for different purposes. And yet, airlines, for some reason, have always thought they got to be everything to everybody and be the same for everyone. Well, airlines are just as different, or can be just as different, as restaurants, retail, or anything else we all buy. And all you got to do is see what customers want. So when you survey customers, about 80% of them say that price is the #1 thing they think about when they decide what airline they're going to fly. More than they think about legroom, more than they think about whether there's a movie on board, even more than they think about the reputation of the service. The #1 thing, 80% of customers surveyed over lots of different surveys say price is the #1 thing. So if you want to have a successful airline, you want to have one that competes on price. And so we decided back in 2006 that's exactly what we were going to do at Spirit, and we were going to build our airline to be able to offer the lowest total price from one city to another we serve. And we're not going to worry about anything else. We're not going to worry whether business travelers want to fly us or not, because we're going to worry about just having the lowest total price. And we're going to structure our company so that we can be successful offering the lowest total price. And that's what we decided back in 2006, and we based it on these principles. Everything's based on the bottom line. So we think about the way we do things based on how it's going to affect net income. If it's going to improve our earnings, we decide to do it. If it's questionable on that, we don't do it. We like to make fun of legacy airline thinking in our company, but we have a real simple product. We deploy our assets to get the highest return. I had a very encouraging and positive meeting with the airport officials and before this meeting to talk about whether or not Syracuse Hancock Airport is an airport that Spirit could serve. And I believe it is at some point. But it's based on the ability to drive the kind of volume of traffic that would make our high utilization model work. Because we don't really care about market share at Spirit. We care about making money at Spirit. And that means we care about carrying more customers for the lowest total price. We don't care whether we're #1, 2, or 10 in any city we serve. We want to be the lowest fare and the most profitable in every city we serve. And so we have an a la carte pricing structure. Customers decide what they pay for and what they don't. They like that because it helps them lower their fares. We're really good at this. And we have low cost by design. We have high asset utilization. We use extra charges like bag fees and other things to modify customers' behavior. And on Spirit, people carry fewer bags. And when they carry fewer bags, we burn less fuel, and that allows us to sell them a lower price ticket. And it's a real win-win. We're the lowest cost producer everywhere we fly. You can see that we're lower priced than Southwest, JetBlue, American United, and Delta. But even more importantly, because we have a one ticket price and then we sell options at an extra for those who want them, but only those who want them. No one's forced to buy any option, just like it's not a fee when you buy dessert at dinner. It's just a charge for the dessert, right? But our break-even fare for the last 12 months was just $56. Southwest break-even in the same time was 85% higher. They have to charge almost double our fare to produce the same economic return we do because their costs are higher. And those free bags, well, newsflash, they're not that free. They're just included in the price of your ticket. JetBlue has to charge 150% more than we do. Legroom and TVs are really nice. They're really comfortable, but they're also really expensive. So that's the difference. If you're building your airline around a product vision to attract a certain customer, JetBlue, Southwest, American, Delta, United are all good airlines. But if you want to have the lowest price, Spirit's structured to be able to do that. Our average domestic fare, including what people pay for bags and seat options, was $102 over the last 12 months. Southwest, $125, Delta, $152, JetBlue, about $170, American United, $180, $224. And yet, we're higher return than these guys because we've structured our business to be that way. If you think since 2006, fuel prices are the largest price an airline faces, since 2006, our total price, the total price that every customers pay us for everything, the fare plus any options they buy, has risen just 12%, while fuel has quintupled in that time. During that same period of time, American's fares up 23%, off a higher base, by the way. Delta up 28%, Southwest up 29%, United, JetBlue up 31.5%, 41%. So we've been able to lower fares and hold the line on fare increases because of the way the airline's structured. That creates customers who like us. This is where we were back in 2007 and where we flew mostly international service out of Fort Lauderdale, but not much in the US. Over the last 4 or 5 years, low fares have fueled our growth. We now carry about 1.5% of the traffic in the United States, still relatively small, but we're flying 57 airplanes now. We'll have 143 airplanes by 2021. Fort Lauderdale is our largest station in our system. Dallas-Fort Worth is our second largest station in the system. And we're about equally sized, about 20 flights a day each in Las Vegas, Chicago, Detroit, Atlantic City, and Myrtle Beach. Our business model also drives very high margins. Over the last 12 months, we've run the highest pre-tax margin in the airline business at over 17%. And we like to say we've gone from not to hot in 7 years. So in 2006, the airline lost $81 million on $543 million in revenue. Last year, we made $177 million on $1.7 billion in revenue. And our average fare during this time went from over $100 to around $80. It's a terrific business model that customers like, customers appreciate, and customers understand. And we can grow. We've got a lot of revenue on it. We've got a lot of cash on our balance sheet. We have no debt. And this chart is a little complicated, but I can explain it really quickly. All of these green dots represent a flight from one city to another that we don't yet fly, but it's where we believe we could fly, lower the price 20 or 30%, and be able to earn our target return. So if you look at some examples here on the top left, this is a market from A to B. There's 1,100 people fly it every day today, and it's 1,000 miles long. They're paying $247 today each way to fly in this market. That's real data. We can break even at $101, so we could start that market. We could price it at about $150, earn our return. That 1,100 is going to go to about 1,500 people. We'll put 2 flights a day in that and fill 250-seat planes. The model's just that simple. There's Syracuse in a couple of these green dots, by the way. And there's over 500 unflown high-fare markets that are our growth opportunity. So basically, we're a different kind of airline that's changing the rules. We have the lowest total price, meaning the fare plus the options. We're helping more people fly more often to where they want to go, but we're proven profitable even when oil prices spike, even when there's a business recession, we do well. We have the lowest cost and yet the highest margin among our competitors. Very strong consumer demand that's driven by low fares. People like low fares, and they want to spend the money where they're going. They don't want to spend the money getting there. And we have profitable growth opportunities. It's a real win-win for customers and investors. So why would you be interested in the story of our little airline that doesn't even fly to Syracuse, except for the fact that I think there's a lot of lessons here that we can take, that a city like Syracuse can take, or a university like Syracuse can take, of things we had to do to take a real struggling airline. Spirit had lost $350 million since its inception until 2006. And we've been profitable every year since 2007 because we changed our focus. So the first thing we had to do is we had to figure out what we had. So figure out what you have. We had airplanes, flight crews, and an operating certificate, but we were flying them in the wrong places, and we weren't flying them right. So think about what you have and what you already have and how can you use that better. Determine what the market needs. We realized that the airline market was already well served for premium product airlines and for airlines that were trying to give you a little more for a little less, but there was nobody out there saying, I'm trying to lower your fare. I'm going to go to bed every night thinking, how can I make your fare lower? There was nobody doing that. So he said, we'll do that because we bet that's a pretty big space. And in fact, it's a huge space. We also learned and had to get comfortable with the fact that bigger isn't necessarily better. We're one of those profitable airlines in the United States, and yet we only serve 1.5% of the market. But you know what the market thinks? Our market capitalization is $4.5 billion. JetBlue's is under $3 billion. So they're 3 times our size, but what Wall Street thinks is Spirit's where we want to put our money because that's where the growth is and that's where the returns are. So physical size doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Syracuse isn't as big a city as Chicago. What matters is that you do with what you have the best you can do. And leverage your niche. Figure out where you can win and then attack that space and go win that space. If you're good at being the dollar store like we are, nobody worries at Spirit about becoming Nordstrom's. We don't want to be Nordstrom's. We like being the dollar store. That doesn't mean you need to be the dollar store. What you need to do is figure out who you are and like being that, make it based on something where you can win and go win that space and embrace doing things differently. Get excited when you see other people not doing what you want to do. Don't look around the world and say, well, all these people are doing that, so I guess we better do that. Then you're just going to get their results. If you want better results, figure out a better way and decide to break the convention and get excited about breaking the convention, because breaking the convention is what makes things work better if you're smart about it. So Spirit's a little airline based in Florida that's getting bigger, that's had a nice, successful transformation. But the important thing is we used to be a bad airline that lost money and didn't know what it was doing. But we took a set of assets and said, how can we turn that around and make it positive for us? I see enormously positive things happening here in Central New York, and that makes me hugely proud growing up in this area and still having a lot of affinity to this area. I was excited to hear what the governor said. I was excited to talk to Rob Simpson and Mark Schwab and the CenterState CEO team about how they're thinking about economic visions for this. We can all win in upstate New York, and we should win in upstate New York. Let's just recognize that to win, maybe we got to do things a little differently, because different can be really great. Thank you all very, very much.